long way from when you described them as a JV team.
Well,
Was that bad intelligence or your misjudgment?
Keep in mind, I wasn't specifically referring to ISIL. I've said that regionally, there were a whole series of organizations that were focused primarily locally, weren't focused on the homeland, because I think a lot of us, when we think about terrorism, the model is Osama bin Laden and 9/11. And the point that I was...
You don't believe these people...
Not yet, but they can evolve. And I was very specific at that time. What I said was, not every regional terrorist organization is automatically a threat to us that would call for a major offensive. But what is absolutely clear is that ISIL, which started as Al-Qaeda in Iraq and arose out of the U.S. invasion there and was contained because of the enormous efforts of our troops there, then shifted to Syria, has metastasized, has grown, and now we're going to have to deal with them in a systematic way.
They're not a JV team.
Well, they're not a JV team, but keep in mind that we anticipated some of these problems in the speech that I gave in West Point several months ago, where I specifically said our goal should not be to think that we can occupy every country where there is a terrorist organization. Our goal has to be to partner more effectively with governments that are committed to pushing back against the kind of extremism that ISIL represents. And that's going to require us to do things a little bit differently. We're going to have to work smarter. We're going to have to train the militaries there more capably. We've got to do more effective diplomatic work to eliminate the schism between Sunni and Shia that has been fueling so much of the violence in Syria, in Iraq. And so we put together a plan that is compatible with the kind of work that we're doing now.
You've not said the word Syria so far in our conversation. Obviously, if you're going to defeat ISIS, you have used very much stronger language. It's gone through the week during your trip to Wales. You got to go to Syria in some form or another. You've ruled out boots on the ground. And I'm curious, have you only ruled them out simply for domestic political reasons, or is there another reason you've ruled out American boots on the ground? Because your own guys have said you can't defeat ISIS with airstrikes alone.
Well, they're absolutely right about that. But you also cannot, over the long term or even the medium term, deal with this problem by having the United States serially occupy various countries all around the Middle East. We don't have the resources. It puts enormous strains on our military. And at some point we leave and then things blow up again.
Well, that's what happened with Iraq.
So we've got to have a more sustainable strategy, which means the boots on the ground have to be Iraqi.
What about in Syria?
And in Syria, the boots on the ground have to be Syrian. And that's why...
Who?
Well, we have a Free Syrian Army and a moderate opposition that we have steadily been working with, that we have vetted. They have been on the defensive, not just from ISIL, but also from the Assad regime. And what, if you will recall at the West Point speech that I gave, I said we need to put more resources into the moderate opposition, in part because unless we have people we can work with who are Sunni in these Sunni regions, then we're going to continue to have these problems. And so the strategy both for Iraq and for Syria is that we will hunt down ISIL members and assets wherever they are. I will reserve the right to always protect the American people and go after folks who are trying to hurt us wherever they are. But in terms of controlling territory, we're going to have to develop a moderate Sunni opposition that can control territory and that we can work with. The notion that the United States should be putting boots on the ground, I think, would be a profound mistake, and I want to be very clear and very explicit about that.